All right, so you ready for this? This deep dive is going to be fascinating. We're looking at Joe Dispenza today, and his ideas on self-talk. You know that YouTube video?
Yeah.
The motivational one? The claims are kind of wild. Like, he's basically saying that if you change the way you talk to yourself, it can change your whole life.
It's pretty mind-bending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dispenza argues that all that stuff, our thoughts and our beliefs and emotions, they don't just stay in our heads. They actually have a real impact on the world around us. He says they shape our reality.
So it's not just like feeling good. He's talking about real world consequences.
Right.
He uses this analogy about words being like seeds, and they grow into our reality. But how does he explain that scientifically?
Well, one way he explains it is through that brain-body connection,
Right.
and the power of the subconscious.
Okay.
He says our subconscious is always being programmed by the things we repeat to ourselves, even if we don't realize we're doing it.
So it's like our subconscious is always listening and taking notes, and then it's shaping our reality based on those notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And it's not just airy-fairy stuff. He gives this really concrete example. Think about how often you say things like, I can't do this, when you're facing a challenge. Dispenza says that doing that doesn't just create a feeling of helplessness. It can actually trigger a physical stress response.
Yeah.
It's almost like your body is mirroring your negative self-talk.
So even just saying I can't a few times could actually be limiting my opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I'm sending these negative signals to my brain and my body.
That's the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
But here's where things get even more interesting. Dispenza says we can use this same brain-body connection to manifest our desires. By consistently speaking to ourselves with confidence and kindness and belief, we can actually reprogram our subconscious and draw those desires into our reality.
So it's not just positive thinking. It's deliberately using language to influence our subconscious and our reality.
Precisely. And he talks about how our brains often can't differentiate between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. So if we constantly tell ourselves, I am healthy, I am successful, I am attracting abundance, our brains start to accept this as truth, and our actions follow suit.
I've heard about this in sports psychology, visualizing yourself making the winning shot can actually improve your performance. But Dispenza's taking it a step further, right? Yeah. He's saying we can apply this to all areas of life.
Right. And he doesn't just stop at the brain either. He brings in this whole other layer, talking about the quantum field.
Okay.
And how our thoughts and emotions actually emit electromagnetic signals. He says these signals interact with the energy around us and create what he calls a vibrational match that attracts our desires into our lives.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to need a little more on that vibrational match. What does he actually mean by that?
He's suggesting that on some level we're all energy, and our thoughts and emotions have a particular frequency. And when we focus on our desires with genuine belief, we raise our frequency. And that allows us to attract experiences and people and opportunities that vibrate at a similar frequency. It's kind of like tuning a radio to a specific station.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about generating a certain energy that aligns with our desires.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds pretty out there, but definitely intriguing. But let's say I'm on board with this whole idea. Where do I even begin?
Well, Dispenza emphasizes starting small.
Yeah.
Pick one area of your life you'd like to improve.
Okay.
Whether it's your health or relationships or career. And start speaking to yourself in the present tense, as if the desired outcome has already happened. So instead of saying, I hope I get a promotion, you would say, I am thriving in my career and receiving the recognition I deserve.
So it's about speaking as if it's a done deal, almost like tricking your brain into believing it's closer than it seems.
Exactly. And he even talks about the science behind this. He explains how our brains have these neural pathways, which are like little roads that our thoughts travel on.
Yeah.
Every time we think a thought, we strengthen that pathway. So by repeatedly speaking to ourselves in the present tense, as if our desire is already true, we're essentially carving out a superhighway for those positive thoughts, making them more and more likely to occur.
I like that analogy. It makes it seem a lot less abstract. So with enough repetition, we're rewiring our brains for success. But what about those times when I don't quite believe the words I'm saying? Like if I'm feeling down and I say, I am happy, it feels kind of forced.
Yeah. Dispenza acknowledges that. It can be a bit uncomfortable at first.
Yeah.
Especially if you're used to a lot of negative self-talk. He compares the working out.
Okay.
You don't start by lifting the heaviest weights. You gradually increase the load as your muscles get stronger.
Yeah.
It's the same with retraining your mind. Start with small, believable statements. And as you notice positive shifts, you can gradually expand your comfort zone.
That makes sense. It's like anything new, you have to build up to it. But speaking of working out, he actually uses that analogy a lot. He even talks about how success breeds success, meaning that even small positive changes can create a momentum that propels you forward.
Right. Those small wins are crucial because they reinforce this new way of thinking and make it easier to stick with the practice. He emphasizes that rewiring our thought patterns takes time and consistent effort, just like building physical strength.
Okay, but what about those times when life throws a wrench in the works? Like, let's say I'm working on attracting abundance, but then I lose my job.
Yeah.
How do I stay positive and keep speaking to myself in that empowering way when things are tough?
That's a great question, and Dispenza definitely addresses that.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that challenges are going to come up, but he sees them as opportunities for growth.
Oh.
Instead of letting those challenges derail you, he suggests that we can actually use them to strengthen our resolve and prove to ourselves that we're committed to this new way of thinking and being.
So it's almost like setbacks are a test of our commitment to this whole process.
Right.
But how do we keep from getting discouraged and falling back into those old negative thought patterns when things get tough?
That's where gratitude comes in. Dispenza talks about gratitude being like this powerful attractor. When we focus on what we're grateful for, even when things are hard, we shift our energy and we align ourselves with abundance. It's like we're sending a signal to the universe saying, hey, I appreciate what I have and I'm open to receiving more.
That makes sense. I've definitely noticed that when I'm feeling down, if I can focus on what I'm grateful for, it can really shift my mood. But Dispenza also talks about something that seems a little contradictory.
Yeah.
He talks about the importance of letting go of attachment to outcomes.
Right.
Like trusting the universe to deliver what's best, even if it's not exactly what we had in mind.
Right. It's this idea of surrendering to a higher plan.
Okay.
But still holding our desires in our hearts. He uses a great analogy about driving a car at night. You can only see as far as your headlights, but you trust that the road continues beyond that. Similarly, we may not be able to see the entire path to our desires, but we can trust that we're being guided in the right direction, even if it takes some unexpected turns.
Okay, I'm getting that. But how does this tie in with speaking to ourselves in a new way? If I'm letting go of attachment, does that mean I stop affirming my desires?
Not necessarily. It's more about shifting from a place of desperation or neediness to a place of trust and allowance. So instead of saying, I need this to happen, you might say, I'm open to receiving this or something even better.
Yeah.
In a way that serves my highest good. It's about holding a clear intention, while also being open to the possibility that the universe might have a different path in store, maybe even a more fulfilling one.
I'm starting to see how these seemingly contradictory ideas can work together. It's about combining clear intention with a sense of surrender and trust. But let's get practical for a second. He mentions this technique where we actually speak to our future selves, as if our desires have already been fulfilled. What's that all about?
It's a really powerful visualization technique. Dispenza says we shouldn't just say the words, but to really step into the feeling of having already achieved our desires. Like imagine your future self, the one who's living the life you want, and have a conversation with them. Ask them for guidance. Soak up their energy and really feel the emotions associated with that reality.
So it's like giving your subconscious mind a blueprint, showing it exactly what you want to create. And by feeling the emotions as if it's already happened, you're sending out that powerful vibrational signal we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And speaking of powerful signals, Dispenza highlights the importance of the questions we ask ourselves. He says that instead of dwelling on negativity and asking things like, why is this happening to me? We can shift our focus by asking empowering questions. Like, how can I make this happen? Or what if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams?
It's like choosing to focus on solutions instead of problems. But he also talks about aligning our environment with this new way of speaking to ourselves. What does he mean by that?
He's saying that our environment, the people we're around, the media we consume, the spaces we inhabit, they can either support or sabotage our efforts. It's like creating fertile ground for our positive seeds to grow.
So if I'm trying to speak to myself with more kindness and confidence, but then I'm constantly surrounded by negative people, or I'm consuming negative media, it's going to be a lot harder to make those positive changes last.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He suggests taking a look at your environment and making conscious choices to surround yourself with things that uplift and inspire you. This could mean spending time with people who are supportive and encouraging, listening to uplifting music, or creating a calming and inviting space in your home.
So it's almost like curating your reality to reflect those positive changes you're making within.
Precisely. And he also emphasizes the importance of patience. Understanding that real transformation takes time.
Right. You don't go to the gym once and expect to have a six-pack. It's about consistent effort over time.
Exactly. He encourages us to celebrate those wins along the way, no matter how small they may seem, and to be kind to ourselves when we inevitably stumble.
So we covered a lot here, from the brain-body connection to the quantum field to like practical techniques, like speaking to our future selves and aligning our environment.
Yeah, it's a lot.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Joe Dispenza's work, what are like the most impactful takeaways for you?
What really struck me is that we're not just passive recipients of our reality. We're active creators. Dispenza's work is all about empowering us to take ownership of our thoughts and beliefs and emotions and use them as tools to shape our experiences.
I totally agree. It's easy to feel like life is just happening to us. The Dispenza reminds us that we have this power, this incredible power to influence our reality, and it starts with how we talk to ourselves.
And it's not just about manifesting material things, although that can be part of it. It's about cultivating this mindset of abundance and resilience and possibility. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves and aligning with the life we really want.
He also emphasizes that this is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about reaching some end goal and then being done. It's about making conscious choices every day to align our thoughts and words and actions with the reality we want to create.
Right. And I love how he encourages us to be patient with ourselves, to celebrate our wins along the way, and to view setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth.
He even reminds us that every thought is a new beginning.
Right.
We can dwell on the negativity, or we can choose to shift our focus to something more empowering.
It's like we have this incredible power to rewrite our story. One thought, one word at a time.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to work with.
Me too.
Yeah.
And, as we step away from this conversation, I encourage you to pay attention to your own self-talk. Notice the words you use, the stories you tell yourself, the questions you ask. What do you want to change? What one positive statement will you practice saying to yourself starting right now?
That's a great question to think about. And remember, you have the power to create the life of your dreams. Believe in yourself, speak kindly to yourself, and watch as the magic unfolds. Until next time, keep diving deep.